already had quite a few movies in 2024 that have been heavily already, like Dune Part 2 and Furiosa and Mad Max Saga, but also objectively bad movies like The Hitman movie and Boy Kills World. This one, released not too long ago, called The Exorcism on streams, falls in that latter category. Because what does this movie really have, apart from a $22 million budget that couldn't use right, a false lesbian relationship between the two main women in the story, some half-baked horror elements in the last hour, and a movie Chloe Bailey is allowed to do a performance in, because the movie is so doggone bad that they are allowed to cast her in it. Basically nothing, because if this is supposed to be a horror movie, it must be one of the worst I've ever seen. But generally, that can be seen about a lot of horror movies with supernatural elements that just looks bad and feels bad all the way. This one feels so cheap and bad that it is a pure suffering to watch it. The first real problem will be to point to the role that Russell Crowe does, which is supposed to be the main character in this one. The actor that gradually goes more and more crazy and gets possessed by a demon. Basically a good concept for a horror movie, but although he has been a hit or miss lately with his roles in The Pope's Exorcist, not so decent in the Poker Face movie, but perhaps better in The Great Speed Run, but worse in Atlanta Bad. Right in his role, I feel it does not do a good performance. It may act a little bit better when it goes wild and crazy during the end, but whether he makes that demon voice on his own is perhaps open to interpretation. Anyways, compared to the role he did in the mentioned Exorcist movie, he basically acts a whole lot better in that particular movie. Because there, as a priest trying to drive out this demon, standing on the other side, he does a fiery lead role and brings some witty lines to play, basically gives a little bit more of himself. Where you feel here, he basically did it for the money. And there's no true conviction, there's no urgency in his act. But of course, Chloe Bailey, that is basically in this movie because of popularity stunt, and Ryan Simpkins, that does a completely okay performance. They are no vices compared to Russell Crowe when it comes to acting, even if he does a weak performance. Simpkins may do something in the emotional scenes, but as this cool for school kind of character that she tries to play, she does not seem to be that at all. And how she got kicked out of school based on the character she plays seems like a bad joke created by blind fucking Al. If we go on to another problem in the movie, it will be the pacing issue. You have a lot of these horror movies, like for instance Annabelle, or a newer example would be the Immaculate movie, where the most tension-filled scenes are delivered in the last 30 minutes. Of course, naturally, you give the movie a chance to build up what's happening in the movie. But when you only have 1.5 hours to do it, I don't see the need to carve out the whole first hour to make the story. Naturally, you have these shorter episodes when Tony seems distant, when you can't exactly see that he is possessed by a demon, but those scenes are cut very short, and none of them are done in any intense or enticing way to make you entertained. I feel this movie could have been better if they actually just threw out the seeds. Because this movie they are making, yeah, it is kind of creepy in the beginning when his character that later is supposed to take over Russell Crowe's role dies. But nonetheless, it could rather have been some investigative issues that they stumble upon this actor that died on the set in that house and there was a demon possessing it, rather than going through all this delayed shit that they are doing in a movie. Because they are really just working it around to build up something that basically is the only entertaining stuff happening in the movie. Another issue with the movie is not only how bad the actual horror scenes are, it is also the awful way it is filmed. In Immaculate, you had a catacomb scenes done to make a dramatic effect, surely, the same way you have in this one. But nonetheless, when the lights are flickering and they are in these different rooms, it is surely done to scare you, but when you can't really see what goes on in many of the scenes, that dramatic appeal suddenly loses its true meaning. And that's what happens in this movie. Sure, this one could have been done more slick. We could have seen a wild movie like what is done in the last Exorcist movie that Russell Crowe did. But this one is so bad, it is an abomination. Sure, you find horror movies that are filmed worse than this one, but not too many. And that's just another fucking reason why this is one of the worst movies made this year. And I will give this a 3 out of 10.